Hello again, gamers. Welcome back to the Board Game Captain. I'm the Board Game Captain.
I'm Lynn.
I'm Juliana.
And today we're doing another modern games to replace a classic game recommendation list. If you've watched any of these before, it's going to be the same kind of format. We pick 6 games to replace a classic game. Today's game in question is actually 2 games. It's chess and checkers, because they usually kind of go together in a lot of people's minds in regard to checkers being the first abstract strategy game you play, and then chess being the one you graduate onto. Now, to some extent, I would say that chess and checkers actually do hold up till today. There's plenty of people that obviously still play them, and people who play chess professionally. But the thing that makes it tough for newer people to get involved in is that they've had such a long history that these are games that are kind of solved. And by solved, I mean, people plan 3, 4, 5 turns out, they totally understand the best moves for any situation, and that's not very fun for new players. So we have picked some abstract strategy games, modern abstract strategy games that we think are really cool, really fun games to get someone into who maybe also is or was a big fan of either chess or checkers. So we've picked 6 games, 2 games apiece. Who wants to start this one? What do you guys think?
I'll start.
You want to start? All right, so what's your first game?
My first one is the Duke. The Duke is more similar to chess, where you have pieces that have different moves. But the thing that I like is that the moves are on the piece, and then once you do that move, you flip over the piece, and there is a different move now that piece can do. And you can't do the previous move until you
flip it again. And then also, there's some pieces have special abilities where they can flip other pieces without moving them,
or move other pieces without.
And in addition to you start with a Duke and 2 footmen on the board, but then you can, instead of making a move, you can randomly draw a tile from the bag, so it adds that little bit of random element, and put it on the board next to your Duke.
And there are themed expansions.
Oh yeah.
Of which my favorite is the Robin Hood one, where one player is Robin Hood and his merry men and Maid Marian, and the other player is Prince John and
Sheriff of
Nottingham and Guy of Gisborne.
That's a really good one. And you know what, for chess, that's a pretty on the nose replacement. So I guess I'll go second, and my first example is a game I've talked about on this channel before. It is Tak. Now, Tak is a game that is meant to represent a game that was played in the second book of the Kingkiller Chronicles, called The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss. And this is a really good, in addition to being, if you're a fan of the books, in addition to it being able to play the game from the book, this is just a good game. So it was designed in cooperation between Patrick Rothfuss as well as James Ernest, who's very famous for being the game designer, who also is the head of the company Cheap Ass Games, though he didn't want to put Cheap Ass Games on this box, so instead I think they said James Ernest Games on the box, because I don't. So they didn't want, because they didn't want to put that on the box of such a nice looking game. And this one also, they didn't go along with their usual theme of trying to cheapen the product and make it affordable as much as possible. This one has really nice wooden pieces, and in this one, it's a game where you can either place pieces out on the board, or once they're on the board, you can move them and jump on top of other pieces. And when you're on top of other pieces, with your pieces on the top, you now control the whole stack. And you can jump in a row in a straight line. You can drop pieces off as you go, as many as you want, sometimes leaving your own pieces on top of each stack. And the object of the game is to form a line from one side of the board to the opposite side of the board to win. You can also place pieces standing to block your opponent's progress. These pieces are not allowed to count for a road from one side to the other, but will stop someone from jumping on top of them. And there is one kind of like trump piece, like all-powerful piece, which looks like a capstone. I think it's called the capstone. And this piece can both count towards the road and block enemy movement because nothing can jump on top of it. And if it jumps on a standing piece, which is called a wall, it will flatten it out and be on top of it. This is a really fun game. The rules are fairly simple, but yeah, there's a lot of depth to this. And often someone will win by doing something that the other person just didn't see. They're like, whoa, I didn't even see that coming. And I really get a kick out of this one. And that is Tack.
All right. My first game is Onitama.
Another real on-the-nose one for chess.
Yeah, this is the first one I thought of when we were considering doing this one. So Onitama is great. It is a two-player game. You are going to have certain moves that are actually named after animals. So like there's a dragon, there's a snake. Anyway, so each person starts with 2 moves, and then there's a single move in the middle.
Yeah, they're cards. At the beginning of the game, you shuffle up the cards, deal 2 cards to each player, and throw one in the middle.
Right. So you essentially have to move your players across the board, and there are 2 ways to win. You can either capture the opponent's master, or you can get your master to the other side.
So the opponent's master starting space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So it's really fun because the moves are, they show you exactly how to move them, and it's different every time. So there's, replayability, and it's a little bit more fun than chess for me because it requires some strategy, obviously, but it also has
a little bit of randomness in the setup.
Yeah.
It keeps it varied. It keeps it each game unique. And then also, I like the way they do the diagrams on the cards, which is very similar to the way they do the diagrams on the pieces for the Duke.
Right.
But it almost looks the same.
You can see up on here. Oh. Yeah. There's a little diagram of the dragon.
No, but that is a really good game. It is a really good game.
Yeah.
So my second one is Zerts.
That's a great name.
Go ahead, lift it up. It's in the bag.
Okay.
This is a more on the nose one for checkers, in my opinion.
In Zerts, you have a board made out of these little rings, and what you do is you place a colored marble on the board, and then you take away a ring. And if marbles are adjacent to each other and can be hopped over, you must hop them, and then you capture the marble that you jump over. And so the board is constantly getting smaller, and it's like you win by getting a certain amount of each color, which I don't recall.
It's either 3 of each, or 4 whites, or 5 grays, or 6 blacks.
I can even when I'm playing the game, I can
you always
never
have to
remember
double check
how many. It's just my brain doesn't want that information.
No, but this is... I thoroughly agree. This is a fantastic game. Fantastic game. I was wondering at what point you're going to remove it from in front of me.
It's going to stay there the whole game.
The whole rest of the video?
This is the new Board Game Kaptain.
This is just going to be in front of me the whole rest of the video. So now, that game, Zerts, is a game from the Gift series, which are a series of board games designed by Chris Berm, of which we now own, thanks to Lynn, because she bought me a bunch for the holiday, we now own the entire series, the entire Gift series. And the reason I'm talking about this is because my next entry is also a member of the Gift series. I happen to think it was a little tough. I had to force myself not to just pick games from the Gift series because they're some of the best abstract strategy games out there. They're really good games. But I picked my favorite one as one of them, and that is Yinch. Now, Yinch, the mechanics of Yinch remind me actually more of the classic abstract strategy games of Othello and Nine Men's Morris, but there's not enough games really to do, games that replace either Othello or Nine Men's Morris. So I may be stretching it a little bit, but I want to put this in here. This is a fantastic abstract strategy game where first you each take turns placing your ring pieces on the board at the intersections of lines. And then after everyone's placed their ring pieces, you can move one of the rings by placing a disc of your color in your ring. Now, the discs are two-sided. They have both colors on them. You place it in your ring, and then you can move that ring any number of spaces with the following restrictions. As it's moving, it can't move past another ring, so it has to stop. If it passes over some discs that are on the table, it must end its move on the first vacant space after the first group of discs that it passes over. And if it does so, any discs it passes over, regardless of what color they're on, it will flip to the opposite color. So from black to white or white to black. The object of the game is to get 5 in a row, and then you score. You pull those 5, and when I'm saying 5 in a row, it's 5 of the discs, not the rings. So if you're playing black, you want to get 5 black pieces in a row, then you remove those 5 black pieces from the board, remove one of the rings from the board, and score it by putting it on one of the 3 ring silhouettes on your edge of the board. And once you do that 3 times, you win the game of Yinch. This game is amazingly cool. I love the strategy, I love the mechanics, and I really love that removing a ring every time you score is like an automatic balancing mechanism. Because you're doing better than your opponent, but now you have one less piece. And that's really great, so it gives your opponent a chance to catch up. Really fun game. One of my favorite abstract strategy games of all time. Yinch.
Cool. Time for my next game. Quantum. Quantum is... Yeah. Quantum is one of my favorite games. It is a spaceship game. You are rolling dice, and they are your ships. Now, each number on the die is a different move set or attack or... No, it's move set.
All of it.
Yeah,
all
everything.
Yeah, I was going to say, so the lower the number of the die, the slower it moves, but the stronger it is in combat.
Exactly, yeah. So what you're trying to do is take over these planets, and... you do that by placing little cubes of your color onto the planet.
Which you have to have. So each planet has a number, and in order to place the cube...
You have to have that exact number on your ships.
On the sum of all the ships around that planet. Yeah. This game is like a space conquering game like Twilight Imperium redone as an abstract strategy game. Which it's probably the most advanced of all the games we picked for this list, and I didn't actually think of it originally, but when you picked it, I was kicking myself for not thinking of it, because I was like, oh man, that's good. I was like, that's a really, really good modern replacement to a lot of classic abstract strategy games in the way it plays. And I mean, everybody here at this table likes this game.
Yeah.
So...
yeah, it's definitely a great one, and there's extra, like there's gambit cards, which have different effects, and
there's cards that you can play. There's abilities you can do to re-roll your dice to change it to a different kind of ship.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. It definitely is like it's like chess, but even more thinking that you have to do in regard to planning around of what to do, if that's possible. And then in addition to that, some randomness added in so that someone who's really good at it
can't just like
always win, yeah,
right.
Because there is a little bit of randomness.
Yeah, I enjoy this game a lot.
And I love the dice as playing pieces.
Yeah, oh my gosh, it's pretty and it looks very modern. So this is just a great game.
There's a look at what it looks like in one of the configurations. The board is actually made up of squares, and there's like a million ways to set up the board. Yeah, and you can come up with your own too.
Yeah, exactly. Like setting up the board, you can change it, which just adds more replayability.
Oh, so, totally. So there you have it. Those were 6 modern day replacements to classic abstract strategy games like chess and checkers. So if you know someone who was or is really into chess and checkers, but you're trying to get them to modern abstract strategy games so that then you can maybe get them to branch out to other varieties of modern games, these are some great gateway games to get them addicted to the modern gaming hobby. So, what are some of your favorite modern abstract strategy replacements to chess and checkers? And what did you think of our choices? Put them in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see us do more like it, be sure to give it a like, share it on all forms of social media, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Kaptain. That's Captain spelled with a K on YouTube. And until next time, game on.